All right, I made the video on the twin pagers before the actual picture was released. I didn't even know a picture was coming. But this is allegedly one of the pager gifts that Netanyahu gave to Donald Trump. This is the golden version. And there's some interesting symbolism going on here. But I have to state at the beginning, a lot of this is speculation because I'm not exactly sure. A couple of the things I'm going to state are facts. And I'll show you what I mean. First, I think that this is olive wood. A couple people commented on these posts around social media and said, oh, that's olive wood. I'm going to assume they know what they're talking about. I did go check on a site that was telling you how to tell if something is olive wood or not. And when you compare this picture to what they say it usually looks like, it does look like olive wood. It has a similar pattern to this here, just a different color. So I will assume that this is, in fact, an olive tree trunk, essentially. And that is very symbolic, if that is the case. But like I said, I wanted to point out it could be something else. I might be mistaken on that front. Anyways, if that's the case, what we do have are two pagers attached to two olive trees, two pieces of olive wood that were given to Donald Trump by the Prime Minister of Israel. As I went into in the video on this, clearly it's an alchemical reference of turning something from lead to gold, with the one pager being normal, which there is no picture of that I can find yet. But I assume it's very similar to this one. And then the golden pager, which is the finished product. And that fits symbolically with Donald Trump as the personified 9/11, his two terms being the two planes that fly into the two towers prior to the controlled demolition. In that respect, first, it's very interesting what Netanyahu said about this gift. In a release about the gift, Netanyahu's office said the golden pager symbolizes the prime minister's decision that led to a turnaround in the war and the starting point for breaking the spirit of Hezbollah. This strategic operation expresses the power, technological superiority, and cunning of the state of Israel against its enemies. In other words, if you view what Netanyahu said there in the context of Donald Trump as the twin of 9/11, as this quote-unquote terrorist attack on the United States of America, it is again very symbolic that these twin pagers that represent a Trojan horse, something laced with explosives, were given to Donald Trump as a gift by Israel, with the caption on the thing that it's mounted to here saying, "To President Donald J. Trump, our greatest friend and greatest ally." In other words, Donald Trump is an instrument of war. He is a Trojan horse laced with explosives that has been placed into the United States that will help engage its controlled demolition as that relates to larger plans relating to the rest of the world. The eclipse of the American empire that must take place for the rest of the plan to unfold. Also note that it says press with both hands, and it has these two arrows pointing to these two buttons. Again, there's a reference to two hands pressing the pagers, which is the twin towers, right? The twin of 9/11. Press both hands onto the device that is laced with explosives. That's a part of a psychological operation planned decades in advance, as stated by Mossad on 60 Minutes. But also, the use of the word press is very symbolic in the context of olive wood or olive trees, as that relates to Jerusalem and Israel in general. First, this is a YouTube video from an account, Wonderful Walks Israel. And I'm going to go to the end here. According to this video, the Garden of Gethsemane is right in front of the Golden Gate in Jerusalem. Now, this is the other thing that I'm not sure is an actual fact. This is just one YouTube channel that stated this, and in my research on Gethsemane, which wasn't extensive by any means, but just in looking into it briefly, I couldn't find any direct confirmation that Gethsemane is actually located right here, directly under the Golden Gate. In fact, one thing I was reading about it stated scholars aren't exactly sure where the actual Gethsemane was. In any event, for those of you who don't know, Gethsemane is a garden at the foot of the Mount of Olives in East Jerusalem where, according to the 4 Gospels of the New Testament, Jesus Christ underwent the agony in the garden and was arrested before his crucifixion. It is a place of great resonance in Christianity. And the garden at Gethsemane, where these events involving the life of Jesus took place, literally translates in Hebrew to oil press. So you have the Mount of Olives, olive wood, olive oil, that whole idea in the context of press and this Trojan horse pager that is likewise resonating now with this idea of Judas betraying Jesus in the garden the night before he was crucified. Which should take on significant meaning given the fact that they have turned Donald Trump into this supposed fascist Christian nationalist president. They claim that he is a Christian, but he is not. He is a Judas, you see. Stolen valor. The garden at Gethsemane, a place whose name literally means oil press, is located on a slope of the Mount of Olives just across the Kidron Valley from Jerusalem. A garden of ancient olive trees stands there to this day. Jesus frequently went to Gethsemane with his disciples to pray. The most famous events at Gethsemane occurred on the night before his crucifixion when Jesus was betrayed. Each of the gospel writers describes the events of that night with slight variations, so reading the 4 accounts will give an accurate picture of that momentous night in its entirety. Now, if this is accurate, and the Golden Gate is actually here, it takes on an even deeper meaning, right? The Garden of Gethsemane, where all of this occurred, that now has this direct symbolic resonance to the oil press, the pressing of the pager with both hands on the olive wood, which is in relationship to this Trojan horse pager laced with explosives that was given to Donald Trump at the start of his second term, which is the second plane flying into the second tower before the controlled demolition, Judas betraying Jesus. All of that is going on with that garden being directly under, potentially, the Golden Gate, which, remember, is directly related to Donald Trump through his association with McDonald's and the Golden Arches. This is the Golden Gate, the Golden Arches. Right after the election, they all take the picture on the plane with the McDonald's. That's what they are. This is the entrance to the Golden Gate. And along those lines, why is the Golden Gate in Jerusalem closed? In relation to the Muslim belief Jesus of Nazareth is the Messiah, it is suggested that Suleiman the Magnificent sealed off the Golden Gate to prevent a false Messiah or quote-unquote Antichrist coming through the entrance. Now, I hope you see the symbolic weight of that. The Golden Gate is closed to prevent an impostor from entering through it. So, via the symbolism attached to Donald Trump, they are opening the Golden Gate, metaphorically speaking, through his presidency. Everything they have planned to do through him will result in this gate opening, metaphorically, in the mind and symbolically in the world in general. And through that symbolism, they can enact everything that will, in effect, result in what otherwise would have transpired here. And ultimately, the golden pager, like in the alchemical ritualistic terms, is the phoenix rising from the ashes, right? It is the result after the eclipse that is Donald Trump. And the effect is the controlled demolition of the United States of America. Olive wood, the Garden of Gethsemane, and the Golden Gate, as represented by the golden pager. It's the end result of the alchemical ritual, the finished product, memorialized by this gift that Netanyahu, Prime Minister of Israel, where Jerusalem resides, gave to Donald Trump, current President of the United States of America. And incidentally, Jesus is said to have been crucified on an olive wood crucifix made from the olive trees near the Garden of Gethsemane in Jerusalem. It's the same story, just being told in a different way, right? Donald Trump is crucifying America. Donald Trump is Judas. He's the Trojan horse that is betraying what America used to be. He's turning it into something else. And that is what this is symbolically showing in an image. Or at least that's my read on it, right? I could have made all of that up. But it seems to connect. Possibly in more ways than even I can think of right now. And if you can add anything to it, by all means, please do. That's the point of all of this. So anyway, I'll leave it there. Later.